Hello and welcome to CCSD's Parent University YouScience series. My name is Dr. Benjamin Lester. I'm Director of Student Services. So glad you could join us today. I've got with us Dr. Webb. Dr. Webb.
Good morning, Dr. Lester. This is our second in our series about YouScience. My name is Dr. Krista Webb, and I am the Curriculum Coordinator for Career Tech Agricultural Education for our county, as well as for social studies. And we are going to jump right into YouScience today. In our first episode, we talked about a general overview of YouScience and what it was. And one thing that we had mentioned was YouScience measures not only interests, but also aptitudes. So without further ado, let's start talking interests and aptitudes. One thing we have discovered as educators, and I think you probably understand it as well as parents, is oftentimes there's a disconnect. Middle school students are interested in a number of things, but oftentimes they don't necessarily have the ability to follow through on those interests. An example I often use is almost every middle school boy wants to be a professional athlete of some sort. Yet we know the percentage of adults who become professional athletes are very, very, very small. So sometimes there's that disconnect between interest and ability. Also, interest surveys are limited by experience and exposure. And we know that middle school students have a very limited amount of experience and a very limited amount of exposure. So generally, when a middle school student takes an interest survey, they are only interested in careers that they know about. Things like professional athletes, musicians, actors or actresses, veterinarians, teachers, doctors, lawyers. There's nothing at all wrong with these professions. In fact, we need them to exist as a community and an economy. But there are thousands and thousands of other professions available for students, other than just what they've seen in their 12 or 13 years of life. Oftentimes as well, we know that interests undervalue what students are truly capable of. And we are always in Cherokee County School District raising the bar. We want our students to achieve to the very best of their ability, every single student. And YouScience helps us in that direction. So then what is aptitude? What is it? Who has it? Aptitude, by definition, is a natural ability to do something. I have the aptitude for public speaking. It comes naturally to me. For some people, public speaking is a nightmare. It's scarier to them than anything else in the world. So it's something that you've just got a natural ability to do. It's an inborn talent. Many of our great musicians have an aptitude for rhythm and for vocals and for playing instruments. I've always been amazed at musicians who could just pick up an instrument and play it. As a student, I loved music, but I have no aptitude for it. So I had to learn to read music, and nobody ever wants to hear me sing, not even my dog or my children. It's bad. I don't have the aptitude for that. It's not an inborn talent. An aptitude can be physical or it can be mental. You can have the aptitude to be a great track star. You can be a fantastic runner, a physical ability. Or you can be a tremendous mathematician. You can have that mental ability to understand math and to do complex mathematic computations. It can be physical, it can be mental. Every single person on this planet has an aptitude for something. They're good at something. I don't care who you are, where you live, what your background is. All people have aptitudes. All people have natural born talents. All people have things that they have the natural ability to be successful at. Do you have any questions at this point, Dr. Lester?
I don't. I think you've done a good job, Dr. Webb, of explaining the difference between interest and aptitude. And again, as a former educator or classroom teacher, assistant principal, and principal, I would see that in the students too, as we worked through, the formerly we mentioned career cruising aspect, where it was just interest based primarily, and it really provided a narrow scope, a narrow trajectory even for kids and what they might be able to do in high school and beyond. So I'm really excited about the idea that we're going to be able to capture some aptitudes of the kids. And I appreciate the way this video is explaining that to our families, because I know we're going to be having that same conversation with our students in the schools as well.
That's right. That's right. So let's look at something about YouScience, and that's the science behind YouScience. Really, when you understand the validity of the science behind YouScience, you understand the name YouScience, because it's science applied to you, applied to everyone. It objectively measures students' abilities. Well, how does YouScience do this? The students take a series of exercises called brain games. And the brain games generally are between 8 and 10 minutes. They're not really long, but they measure different things. When YouScience developed their program, they did it in conjunction with the Ball Foundation. The Ball Foundation has a history of measuring aptitudes that goes back over 50 years. And what the Ball Foundation did for YouScience was take some of their developed aptitude exercises and translated it into a digital format for YouScience. And then Humro developed the algorithms that would be used in measure, very much like algorithms used in computer code. It's the same kind of thing, but this is measuring aptitudes in individuals. The result was a validated, more objective, stable measure of career success. Any questions at this point, Dr. Lester?
No, you said that the state of Georgia is utilizing YouScience. Is it being used in other states as well?
It is. It is.
Okay.
Actually, the private company YouScience was purchased by Pearson Education, which is one of our leading textbook publishers. Mm-hmm. And so it is nationwide. Almost everywhere you turn, you're hearing YouScience. If you were to call our Cherokee Office of Economic Development and question them about YouScience, they would say, oh yes, a lot of our employers are using YouScience. They are asking students, what have you had high success in according to your YouScience results? There are many companies using it, many businesses and industries, and other governments as well. I know the state of Utah is in somewhat the same position that we are in Georgia as far as career development. Because again, we have this nationwide problem of a gap between students' education and what business and industry need. And this is one tool used to try to bridge that gap.
Excellent, thank you.
So how does it actually work? What really happens with YouScience? High schoolers will experience 9 different brain games, 9 different exercises. There's spatial visualization exercise. There's an inductive reasoning exercise. There's an interpersonal style exercise. There's an interest survey. 9 different brain games for high schoolers. For middle schoolers, it's a mini session, and this comes in 8th grade. They will have 5 different exercises as well as an interest survey when they take the 8th grade portion of YouScience. Each exercise very short and timed, 8 to 10 minutes on average. Students receive affirming results, positive results within 24 hours. their results are ready once they've finished all of their exercises. And they have access to the results for 10 years, way beyond high school, which is very good for our students' futures. And then it provides exposure not only to careers students may have never known about, but to colleges and universities they may never have known about as well. So it is a great one-stop shop. Part of the proof of YouScience is how aptitudes align labor supply with demand. And this was, again, a slide taken from YouScience, and this was surveys that went out to over 200,000 students. And this is what they found. If a student completes an interest survey, 200,000 students, 80% of them had interest that were based in social and artistic careers, arts, entertainment, educators, social work, and life sciences. Upon taking aptitudes, they found that only 20% of those 200,000 students had the aptitude to be successful in those careers. Whereas 0% of the students, 0% of 200,000 students said they were not interested in in-demand careers like architecture, engineering, IT, construction, manufacturing, transportation, and logistics. But based on aptitude, 54% of those 200,000 students had aptitudes for those careers. High paying, high profile, in-demand jobs. Another piece of proof is that aptitudes will uncover talents in a diverse workforce that no one maybe would have ever even known existed. For example, when these students were surveyed, there were some in-demand industries: technology, manufacturing, construction, and healthcare. 54% or 52% of males said they were interested in those careers, whereas 22% of females said yes, they would be interested somewhat in those careers. After aptitude, what we found was that 81% of the males had aptitude for those careers, and 78% of the females had aptitude for those careers. So it opened up the eyes of 30% more males and 50+% more females about what they were really capable of doing. Same thing goes for different ethnicities. High interest for these careers in manufacturing, construction, healthcare, technology. 43% of white males were interested. 32% of Blacks were interested. 43% of Hispanics were interested, and 33% of others were interested. But then after aptitude test, we found that 80% of white students had aptitude for those careers, 78% of our Black students, 79% of the Hispanic students, and 79% of other ethnicities. So again, it just opens up the door. I think about this with my own childhood. When I was growing up, there were really 3 careers presented for women: teachers, nurses, and secretaries. We weren't presented careers where we could perhaps be the business owner, or we could perhaps be the doctor. We were, in a way, pigeonholed into certain careers. YouScience takes away those kinds of pigeonholes for students. and it opens up the world to where you can be whatever it is you desire to be. Any questions, Dr. Lester?
No, I think this slide itself is, suggests the belief in possibility and hope and potential for the kids across our district, and for them to be able to realize that through the aptitude survey, through the brain games versus just interest. In the previous slide, you also mentioned the fact they have it for 10 years, access to it. I think that's very powerful as well, as they go and matriculate through Cherokee County schools and get to the university level, whether they're at a smaller 2-year school in the beginning and transferring somewhere, or they start somewhere and decide to take a year or two off. To be able to revisit this as a tool for them will provide, I think, some clear guidance, substantive guidance on their next steps in young adulthood. So
I agree with that. As I am out and about in the community, I've been in education in Cherokee County for my entire career, which is almost 30 years now. And I run into former students all the time. And oftentimes they will say to me, I didn't have a clue about what I wanted to do or what I could do when I was in high school. And so I'll talk to them a little bit about YouScience, and they'll say, man, I wish we had something like that when I was there. It could have helped me make better decisions for my life. And that's what we want our students to do, make good decisions for their lives. So most importantly, and Dr. Lester touched on this, and Dr. Lester hasn't even seen these slides until now. YouScience provides a sense of hope, relevance, and purpose as students start making decisions about colleges and careers. The confidence that students have after seeing the results of YouScience is quite amazing, because again, everything about it is positive. It is affirming. It is not a program that is a can't program. It is a program that is a can program. You can do this. You are good at this. You have this talent. It allows students to uncover talents and abilities that they never knew they had. Things that they are good at that they may not have any idea about or be able to articulate what that is. And then it exposes students to college and careers that they may never have known even existed. When we filter colleges by in-state and out-of-state, in-state colleges, every time I go on, I learn about a college that I never even knew existed. So the opportunities for students with YouScience, limitless. Do you have any questions or comments, Dr. Lester?
At this time, I do not.
Well, we hope you will join us for our next session, the college experience. During this session, I'm going to show you my own personal YouScience account and how we navigate through the college portion of the account. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again in session 3, the college experience.
Thank you, Dr. Webb.